Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiv Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Udire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 3, Yamaraj instructs his messengers, text number 27 onwards. Te deva siddha parigita pavitra gatha, ye sadhva samdrisho bhakvat prapannaha, tanna nopasidat arer gadyabhiguptan, naisham vayam cha na cha vayah prabhavam dande. So Yamraji is further speaking to his messengers. My dear servants, please do not approach such devotees, for they have fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God. They are equal to everyone, and their narrations are sung by the demigods and the inhabitants of Siddhaloka. Please do not even go near them. They are always protected by the club of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore Lord Brahma and I, and even the time factor, are not competent to chastise them. Wow. This is the glories of devotees. In effect, Yamaraj warned his servants, my dear servants, despite what you may have done previously to disturb the devotees, henceforward you should stop. The actions of devotees who have surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord and who constantly chant the holy name of the Lord are praised by the demigods and the residents of Siddhaloka. Those devotees are so respectable and exalted that Lord Vishnu personally protects them with the club in his hand. Therefore, regardless of what you have done this time, henceforward, you should not approach such devotees. Otherwise, you will be killed by the club of Lord Vishnu. This is my warning. Lord Vishnu has a club and chakra to punish non-devotees. Do not risk punishment by attempting to disturb the devotees. Not to speak of you, even if Lord Brahma and I were to punish them, Lord Vishnu would punish us. Therefore, do not disturb the devotees any further. Wow, that's a sigh of relief. but obviously, Yamraji is talking about pure devotees, not neophytes like us. But still, it's a fact that devotees, all devotees, are protected by the club and chakra of Vishnu. And of course, Yamdutas could have said that, but this guy was not even a devotee. He was chanting, he was just calling his son, and he was committing sinful activities still. So how can he be a devotee? But nevertheless, since he chanted the holy name, he is considered a devotee. Simple as that. Tananyadhvam sato vimukhan mukunda padaravindam makaranda rasad jasram nishkinchanah paramhansa kular sangar jushtad grihe nirvartamani baddha trishnan. Paramhansas are exalted persons who have no taste for material enjoyment and who drink the honey of the Lord's lotus feet. My dear servants, bring to me for punishment only persons who are averse to the taste of that honey, who do not associate with Paramhansas and who are attached to family life and worldly enjoyment, which form the path to hell. So Yamraji is clear that anybody who does not associate with the devotees and who are too attached to family life, worldly enjoyment, they are the ones suitable for Yamloka punishments. After warning the Yamdutas not to approach the devotees, Yamraj now indicates who is to be brought before him. He specifically advises the Yamdutas to bring him the materialistic persons who are attached to household life merely for sex. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yan Mathunadi Grimedi Sukham Hitucham. People are attached to household life for sex only. They are always harassed in many ways by their material engagements, and their only happiness is that after working very hard all day or at night, they sleep and indulge in sex. At night, the materialistic householders sleep or indulge in sex life. Diva chahte haya rajan. During the day, they are busy trying to find out where money is, and if they get money, they spend it to maintain their families. Yamaraj specifically advises his servants to bring these persons to him for punishment, and not to bring the devotees who always lick the honey at the lotus feet of the Lord, who are equal to everyone and who try to preach Krishna consciousness because of sympathy for all living entities. Devotees are not liable to be punished, not liable to punishment by Yamaraj, but persons who have no information of Krishna consciousness cannot be protected by the material life of so-called family enjoyment, because that so-called family is like the fallible soldiers. Bhagavatam says such persons complacently believe that their nations, communities, or families can protect them, unaware that all such fallible soldiers will be destroyed in due course of time. In conclusion, one should try to associate with persons who engage in devotional service 24 hours a day. So sometimes people say, or devotees ask this question, that what about people who are not living in the association of devotees? They're living far away from temples, and they may be living in America or Africa or there, here or there. No connection with devotees at all. What about them? Well, first of all, we have to understand why are they born or why are they living in such places? Because of some sinful activities and some pious activities. Somebody living in America and making good money, but not in association with devotees. So he has done plenty of pious activities, but not agyat sukriti for bhakti. So even if they are not in touch, devotees go out and try to preach to them, try to at least give them book. Many times Prabhupada's books, when Prabhupada was here preaching and spreading the movement, many times Prabhupada's books reached places where Prabhupada himself have never been to. But the books reached those places somehow or other, because that time the main place for book distribution was at the airports. So people were traveling, they were buying books, here or there, small books, big books, and they would travel to their destination, and they would read, and they would take it home. So if the devotees try really hard, and they're trying hard, I'm not saying they're not trying, they're trying very hard. So anybody and everybody can get some association somehow or other. And now with the internet is all over the world, and devote so many classes, so many websites, so many YouTube videos, so much preaching and Harinam Sankirtan is going on through internet, that it will be hard to find somebody who has never heard of Hare Krishna. But the point is, we still have to go on. We have to preach. We have to preach more and more and more and more. So even if by doing that, Yamraj's prison houses are vacant, it's okay. He won't mind. Jivana Vakti Bhagvat Gunanama Dheyam chetascha na smarati tacharanaravin. Krishnainos namati yachir ekadapi. Tana nyadvam asato krit Vishnu krityam. My dear servants, please bring to me only those sinful persons who do not use their tongues to chant the holy name and qualities of Krishna, whose hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna even once, and whose heads do not bow down even once before Lord Krishna. Send me those who do not perform the duties towards Vishnu, which are the only duties in human life. Please bring me such fools and rascals. Of course, he did not say, please bring me, but this was his order. The word Vishnu Krityan is very important in this verse because the purpose of human life is to please Lord Vishnu. Varnashram Dharma is also meant for that purpose. As stated in Vishnu Puran, human society is meant to follow strictly the Varnashram Dharma, which divides society into 4 social divisions, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and 4 spiritual divisions, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Varnashram Dharma easily brings one nearer to Lord Vishnu, who is the only true objective in human society. Nata vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. Unfortunately, however, people do not know that the self-interest is to return home back to Godhead or to approach Lord Vishnu. Durashaya ye bahir arthamanina. Instead, they're simply bewildered. Every human being is expected to perform duties meant for approaching Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Yamaraj advises the Yamdutas to bring him those persons who have forgotten their duties towards Vishnu. One who does not chant the holy name of Vishnu, Krishna, who does not bow down before the deity of Vishnu, and who does not remember the lotus feet of Vishnu is punishable by Yamaraj. In summary, all Avaishnavas, persons unconcerned with Lord Vishnu, are punishable by Yamaraj. So Yamaraj is clarifying it. Who is going to be punished by him and by his messengers? So anybody who has even once chanted the name of Krishna, who has once bowed down before the deity of Krishna, whose heart even once remembered the lotus feet of Krishna, he's not a candidate for Yamdutas. Tat kshamyatam sa Bhagwan Purusha Purano Narayana Swapurushar Yadasat Kritam Na Swanam Aho Na Vidusham Rachitanjalina Shantir Gariyasi Namaha Purushaya Bhumne. Then Yamaraj, considering himself and his servants to be offenders, spoke as follows, begging pardon from the Lord. O my Lord, my servants have surely committed a great offense by arresting a Vaishnav such as Ajamil. O Narayana, supreme and the oldest person, please forgive us. Because of our ignorance, we fail to recognize Ajamil as a servant of your lordship, and thus we have certainly committed a great offense. Therefore, with folded hands, we beg your pardon. My Lord, since you are supremely merciful and are always full of good qualities, please pardon us. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Now he is praying to the Supreme Lord, please forgive us. Because a master is responsible if his messengers, if his servants make a mistake. Lord Yamaraj took upon himself the responsibility for the offense committed by his servants. If the servant of an establishment makes a mistake, the establishment takes responsibility for it. Although Yamaraj is above offenses, his servants, practically with his permission, went to arrest Ajamil, which was a great offense. The Nyaya Shastra confirms Bhritya Paradhe Swamino Danda. If a servant makes a mistake, the master is punishable because he is responsible for the offense. Taking this seriously, Yamaraj, along with his servants, prayed with folded hands to be excused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. So same mood was of the Lord when Jay and Vijay committed offense against the four Kumaras. They stopped them from going inside. And the Kumaras got angry and they cursed Jay and Vijay. But Lord Vishnu came running and he begged for forgiveness. He said, my servants committed this offense, so please forgive me. I'm responsible. So this is how Yamraji treats his servants. I mean, the servants were like part of his. They're not just Yamdutas; they're part of his family. Otherwise, if it's a company, if it's a corporate, the boss would say, "I don't care. I mean, he made a mistake. He should be fired. Don't bring it to me." But here, Yamraji is not saying that way. Text 31. Tasmat sankirtanam Vishnur jagan mangalam hamsaham mahatam api kauravya vidya kanti kanishkritam. Shukdev Goswami continued, my dear king, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is able to uproot even the reactions of the greatest sins. Therefore, the chanting of the Sankirtan movement is a most auspicious activity in the entire universe. Please try to understand this so that others will take it seriously. So this is how powerful the chanting is, chanting of the Sankirtan movement. We should note that although Ajamil chanted the name of Narayan imperfectly, he was delivered from all sinful reactions. The chanting of the holy name is so auspicious that it can free everyone from the reactions of sinful activities. One should not conclude that one may continue to sin with the intention of chanting Hare Krishna to neutralize the reactions. Rather, one should be very careful to be free from all sins and never think of counteracting sinful activities by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, for this is another offense. If by chance a devotee accidentally performs some sinful activity, the Lord will excuse him, but one should not intentionally perform sinful acts. So this is how powerful chanting is, but at the same time, we should not perform sinful activity thinking chanting will neutralize it. But then, because then it becomes an offense. Shanvatam grinatam virya udyamani harer mahu yatha sujataya bhaktya shuddhinnatma vritadivi. One who constantly hears and chants the holy name of the Lord and hears and chants about his activities can very easily attain the platform of pure devotion service, which can cleanse the dirt from one's heart. One cannot achieve such purification merely by observing vows and performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. So chanting is so powerful that just by observing vows and doing karma-kanda activities, one cannot get rid of all the dirt in the heart. Means the propensity to commit sin does not go away by any other process. One may very easily practice chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and thus become ecstatic in spiritual life. Padma Purana says, Nama parada yukta nam namani eva harantyagam avishranti prayuktani tani evartha karani cha. Archana Mataji, your phone is getting unmuted again and again. Even if one chants a Hare Krishna Mahamantra offensively, one can avoid offenses by continuously chanting without deviation. One who becomes accustomed to this practice will always remain in a pure, transcendental position, untouchable by sinful reactions. So this is the medicine, or this is the whole way of life is continuous chanting without deviation. Then one can get rid of all the offenses. Shukdev Goswami especially requested King Parikshit to note this fact very carefully. There is no profit, however, in executing the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. By performing such activities, one may go to the higher planetary systems. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kshine Punya Marti Lokam Vishanti. When the period of one's enjoyment in the heavenly planets is terminated because of the limited extent of the results of one's pious activities, one must return to earth. Thus, there is no use in endeavoring to travel up and down in the universe. It is better to chant the holy name of the Lord so that one may become fully purified and eligible to return home back to Godhead. That is the aim of life, and that is a perfection of life. So chant, 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 so that heart is cleansed, and the heart is cleansed of all the unwanted desires. We can, or we should, in fact, visualize Harinam going inside our heart. And Harinam means Krishna himself, going inside our heart and cleansing the heart of all the unwanted, problematic, sinful desires. And it is possible that all these desires, when they come out, they will bewilder us more, they will disturb us more, because the cleansing process is taking place. And when all the desires come out, we'll feel ashamed. Oh, what is there? Why I'm thinking like that? But rest assured, this is the cleansing. Cheto Darpan Marjanam is happening. And just imagine, once everything is clean, like when we clean our homes or car, when everything is clean and nice, how nice it is, how comfortable, and how peaceful and ecstatic we feel when we sit in that place, which is very clean. So same thing is going to happen with the heart. Krishnangri Padma Madhulina na Punarvisrishtam Maya Guneshu Ramate Vrijinavaheshu Anyastu Kamahat Atmarajah Pramarshatur Ihet Karma Yat Eva Rajah Punasya. Devotees who always lick the honey from the lotus feet of Lord Krishna do not care at all for material activities, which are performed under the three modes of material nature and which bring only misery. Indeed, devotees never give up the lotus feet of Krishna to return to material activities. Others, however, who are addicted to Vedic rituals because they have neglected the service of Lord's lotus feet and are enchanted by lusty desires, sometimes performs acts of atonement. Nevertheless, being incompletely purified, they return to sinful activities again and again and again and again. So licking the honey from the lotus feet of Krishna, that means basically chanting his name, because licking the honey means it gives such a taste, such a bliss, such an happiness, one does not want to give it up. A devotee's duty is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. One may sometimes chant with offenses and sometimes without offenses. But if one seriously adopts this process, he will achieve perfection, which cannot be achieved through Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of atonement. Persons who are attached to the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, but do not believe in devotional service, who advise atonement but do not appreciate the chanting of the Lord's holy name, fail to achieve the highest perfection. Devotees, therefore, being completely detached from material enjoyment, never give up Krishna consciousness for Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Those who are attached to Vedic ritualistic ceremonies because of lusty desires are subjected to the tribulations of material existence again and again. Maharaj Parikshit has compared the activities to Kunjara Shocha, the bathing of an elephant. So that we read earlier how atonement is compared to like bathing of an elephant. Elephant bathes very nicely in the pond or in a lake, and as soon as he comes out, he again either rolls in the dust or takes the dust with his snout and puts all over him again. Means he becomes dirty again. So Vedic ritualistic ceremonies are like that. When we are performing those ceremonies, and for a while it feels good, and we have performed this yagya and that yagya, and we follow for a while, but how long that while lasts, we all know. But bhakti goes on always, because the devotee gets attached to doing this loving devotional service, especially chanting. Itham bhartri gaditam bhagwan mahitvam samskritya vismita dhiyo yam kinkaraste neva chutashraya janam pratishankamana drashtum cha bibyati tatah prabhriti smarajan. After hearing from the mouth of the Master about the extraordinary glories of the Lord and his name, fame, and attributes, the Yamdutas were struck with wonder. Since then, as soon as they see a devotee, they fear him and dare not look at him again. Since this incident, the Yamdutas have given up the dangerous behavior of approaching devotees. For the Yamdutas, a devotee is dangerous. That's Prabhupada's way of putting things. For Yamdutas, a devotee is dangerous. But devotees are not dangerous for anybody. But Yamdutas, they got this message from Yamraj, and they were struck with wonder. I'm pretty sure after this, many Yamdutas must have taken up the path of devotional service, chanting the holy names. Itihasam imam guhyam bhagwan kumbha sambhava katya masa malay asino harim archayan. When the great sage Agastya, the son of Kumbha, was residing in Malay hills and worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I approached him and he explained to me this confidential history. So who is this I? I means Shukdev Goswami. So he heard this thing from Rishi Agastya, who's residing in the Malay hills, means he's still residing there in the Malay hills in South India. And I believe Malay hills are part of Odisha and Tamil Nadu, somewhere there. And there is another beautiful story of Rishi Agastya. If I remember it correctly, I'm forgetting what's the name of that hill. It cannot be Govardhan. So somehow there was a competition between two hills. Either Himalaya or some other hill. I have to read that story again. And they were getting taller and taller, two hills. They just were in competition with each other. And it was creating disturbance. So Agastya Rishi, he arrived there, and he's told this hill that I have to cross over to go to southern part of India. So you stop growing. If you keep growing, how am I going to go above you? So this hill, he bowed down to Agastya Rishi. And he said, okay, you go. And Agastya Rishi said, now stay like this till I come back. And he never went back. He just stayed in Malay hills. So that is why also it is said When we sleep at night or daytime, if we are taking nap, whenever we are sleeping, we should have our head towards south direction. We should not keep our feet towards the south because Agastya Rishi is there. Yeah, I think it is Vindhya Hills. Thank you. Thank you, Radha Damodar Prabhu. So Vindhya Hills and Himalaya, I think they had the competition. And Agastya Rishi was just stopped Vindhya Hills from going further. So that is why we should keep our head towards south. We can keep towards east or west, that's a different story, but not keep our feet towards the south because Agastya Rishi is residing there as a respect for Agastya Rishi. So anyway, that ends the third chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto. We can start the fourth chapter because we still have time. The Hansa Guhya prayers. Very, very beautiful and very powerful prayers are these Hansa Guhya prayers. Text 1 and 2. Shri Raju Vacha Devasura Nirnam Sargo Naganam Rig Pakshinam Samasi Kastvaya Prokto Yastu Swayam Bhavayantare Tasya Vyasam Ichhami Gyatum Te Bhagwan Mutha Anusargam Yaya Shaktya Sasarcha Bhagwan Paraha. The blessed king said to Shukdev Goswami, my dear Lord, the demigods, demons, human beings, nags, beasts, and birds were created during the reign of Swayambhuva Manu. You have spoken about this creation briefly. Now I wish to know about it elaborately. I also wish to know about the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which he brought about the secondary creation. So again, the change of pastime, change of the story. So he had heard about this atonement and the glories of the holy name. And when he heard this description of the hellish planets, he was very much disturbed. So now he heard how devotees don't go to hellish planets. And now he wants to know more about the creation. Shri Sutvacha iti samprashnam akaranya rajarshera badarayani pratinande mahayogi jagad muni sattama. Sut Goswami said, O great sages, now this shloka goes back to Naimisharanya. Assembled at Naimisharanya, after the great yogi Shukdev Goswami heard King Parikshit's inquiry, he praised it and thus replied. So coming back to Shukdev Goswami. Text 4. Shri Shukvacha Yada Pracheta Sahaputra Dash Prachin Barhisha Anta Samudra Dun Magna Dadrushur Kam Dhrumer Vritam. Shukdev Goswami said, when the 10 sons of Prachin Barhi emerged from the waters in which they were performing austerities, they saw that the entire surface of the world was covered by trees. So if we remember these 10 sons of Prachin Barhi, they were performing austerities under the waters, and Lord Shiva preached to them, and Narad Muni preached to them. Narad Muni preached to Prachin Barhishit also. The story of Puranjan, if we remember. And now Shukdev Goswami is going back to that place. When King Prachin Barhi was performing Vedic rituals in which the killing of animals was recommended, Narad Muni, out of compassion, advised him to stop. Prachin Barhi understood Narad properly and then left the kingdom to perform austerities in the forest. His 10 sons, however, were performing austerities within the water, and therefore there was no king to see the management of the world. When the 10 sons, the Prachetas, came out of the water, they saw that the earth was overrun with trees. When the government neglects agriculture, which is necessary for the production of food, the land becomes covered with unnecessary trees. Of course, many trees are useful because they produce fruits and flowers, but many of the trees are unnecessary. They could be used as fuel and the land cleared and used for agriculture. When the government is negligent, less grain is produced. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishi Goraksha Vanijyam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. The proper arrangement for Vaishyas according to their nature are to farm and to protect cows. The duty of the government and the Kshatriyas is to see that the members of the third class, the Vaishyas, who are neither Brahmins nor Kshatriyas, are thus properly engaged. Kshatriyas are meant to protect human beings, whereas Vaishyas are meant to protect useful animals, especially cows. And as Prabhupada mentions, that because the king was gone and the sons were underwater performing austerities, and there was mismanagement. And when they came out, the whole earth was overrun with trees. And if you remember, they all 10 of them, they married one lady, one girl of the daughter of the trees, or the daughter of the forest. Drumebhya krudhya manaste tapo deepitam manyavaha mukto vayum agnim cha sasre justadidhakshaya. Because of having undergone long austerities in the water, Prachetas were very angry at the trees. Desiring to burn them to ashes, they generated wind and fire from their mouths. Here the word tapo deepita manyavaha indicates that persons who have undergone severe austerity are endowed with great mystic power, as evinced by the Prachetas, who created fire and wind from their mouths. Although devotees undergo severe tapasya, however, they are vimanyavaha sadvaha, which means that they are never angry. They are always decorated with good qualities. Bhagavatam states, Tikshva Karunika. A sadhu, a devotee, is never angry. Actually, the real feature of devotees who undergo tapasya austerity is forgiveness. Although a Vaishnava has sufficient power in tapasya, he does not become angry when put into difficulty. If one undergoes tapasya but does not become a Vaishnava, however, one does not develop good qualities. So tapasya actually it means one should develop good qualities, especially the first quality mentioned here is titikshava, means tolerant. And then karunika, compassionate. For example, Hiranyakashipu and Ravan also performed great austerities, but they did so to demonstrate their demonic tendencies. Vaishnavas must meet many opponents while preaching the glories of the Lord. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that they not become angry while preaching. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given this formula, Trinadapi Shuni Chena, Tarorapi Saheshrana, Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of Lord constantly. Those engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord should be humbler than grass and more tolerant than a tree. Then they can preach the glories of the Lord without difficulty. So preaching is not that easy. One can say Prabhupada, when he used to preach, he would call everybody rascal. You are rascal, this guy is rascal, scientists are rascal, politicians are rascals, and this and that. Was he humble? Yes, he was humble, because in a way he was only trying to relay the message very forcefully, that's all. For he himself, he was so humble. Like once in I believe it was in France, devotees had arranged a program for Prabhupada in a big auditorium, and there was college students in the audience. And obviously, devotees arranged for a Vyasasana for Prabhupada to sit on the stage and to give lecture. But the students, they started making noise that why you are sitting on that big seat and why everybody, because all the devotees were either standing or they were sitting on the floor. And they could not tolerate it. And Prabhupada said, okay, don't mind. He just got done from Vyasasana and sat on the floor. He said, I can speak from here. Just listen. That was his humility. And once Prabhupada was explaining these 4 classes, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and explaining their qualities, and somebody in the audience said, oh, so you think you're better than all of us and this or that. And Prabhupada said, no, I'm the 5th class actually. I'm lower than all of you. So that was Prabhupada's mode. But to drive the point home, to wake people up, to jog their intelligence, he used to use those strict words as fools and rascals. But without being humble and without being tolerant, one cannot preach. One cannot preach. No way. And especially those qualities of tolerance and humility, they attract the people, and then their hearts open up to receive the message. Because this message has to go to the heart of people, where the soul is residing. Soul has to listen and understand it's a real position. And so normally when we preach, in the beginning, when somebody is first timer, normally they have this kind of shield around them. They don't want to be open up to newer ideas, new philosophy. So they all have this kind of shield, a barrier. I don't want to give up. This is my comfort zone. Don't get into it. So only when we are humble and try to preach, then that barrier comes off. Because then the person understands he's my well-wisher actually. And he's because messengers of God are supposed to be in a very humble position. So then the barrier comes off. Then the person is ready to listen. So it's not that easy. Even Prabhupada, he met so many thousands and thousands of people, but not everybody took up the process. And not everybody took up the process seriously, even after meeting or even after being with the Srila Prabhupada. Of course, we can say the Agyat Sukriti was not enough. They didn't have enough bank balance of Agyat Sukriti. So yes, meeting Prabhupada, listening to Prabhupada definitely created plenty of Agyat Sukriti. So sooner or later, they'll take up the process. But again, as I said, so barrier, the shield is always there. And something new is being presented to a person. So the humility and tolerance really helps in breaking down or bringing that shield down. Tabhyam nirdaya manas tanuplabhya kurudvaha rajovacha mahan somo manyum prashamayan eva. My dear King Parikshit, when Soma, the king of the trees and predominating deity of the moon, saw the fire and wind burning all the trees to ashes, He felt great sympathy because he is a maintainer of all herbs and trees. To appease the anger of the Prachetas, Soma spoke as follows. It is understood from this verse that the predominating deity of the moon is a maintainer of all the trees and plants throughout the universe. It is due to the moon shine that trees and plants grow very luxuriantly. Therefore, how can we expect the so-called scientists whose moon expeditions have informed us that there are no trees or vegetation on the moon? So it doesn't make sense. When the moonlight maintains the trees and plants throughout the universe, why not on the moon planet also? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Soma, the predominating deity of the moon, is a king of all vegetation. How can we believe that the maintainer of vegetation has no vegetation on his own planet? So obviously they didn't go to the moon, they went to Rahu. If they at all went, they went to Rahu. Na drumebhyo mahabhaga dinebhyo drogdhurmatha vivardhayeshvo yuyam prajanam patyas smritaha. O greatly fortunate ones, you should not kill these poor trees by burning them to ashes. Your duty is to wish the citizens, prajas, all prosperity and to act as a protectors. It is indicated herein that the government of king has a duty of protecting not only the human beings, but all of the living entities, including animals, trees, and plants. No living entity should be killed unnecessarily. Aho prajapati patir bhagwan hariravyaya vanaspati no shadhischa sasarjor jamisham vibhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srihari, is the master of all living entities, including all the Prajapatis and such as Lord Brahma. Because he is all-pervading and indestructible master, he has created all these trees and vegetables as eatables for other living entities. Soman, the predominating deity of the moon, reminding the Prachetas that this vegetation has been created by the Lord of Lords to provide food for everyone. If the Prachetas tried to kill them off, their own subjects would also suffer, for trees are also required for food. Annam charanam achara yapada padacharinam ahasta hasta yuktanam dvipadam chatushpadaha. By nature's arrangement, fruits and flowers are considered the food of insects and birds. Grass and other legless living entities are meant to be the food of four-legged animals like cows and buffaloes. Animals that cannot use their front legs as hands are meant to be the food of animals like tigers, which have claws. And four-legged animals like deers and goats, as well as food grains, are meant to be the food of human beings. By nature's law or the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one kind of living entity is eatable by other living entities. As mentioned herein, Dvipadam Chatushpada, the four-legged animals as well as food grains are eatables for human beings. Oh, that's a controversial statement, but human beings, not all human beings are supposed to eat animals. These four-legged animals are those such as deer and goats, not cows, which are meant to be protected. Generally, the men of the higher classes of society, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, do not eat meat. Sometimes Kshatriyas go to the forest to kill animals like deer because they have to learn the art of killing. And sometimes they eat the animals also. So Kshatriyas sometimes, Prabhupada says, not always. Shudras too eat animals such as goats. Shudras or lower than Shudras, like Chandal and Yavan and others. Cows, however, are never meant to be killed or eaten by human beings. In every Shastra, cow killing is vehemently condemned. Indeed, one who kills a cow must suffer for as many years as there are hairs on the body of a cow. Manu Samhita says, we have many tendencies in this material world, but in human life, one is meant to learn how to curb those tendencies. Those who desire to eat meat may satisfy the demands of their tongues by eating lower animals, but they should never kill cows who are actually accepted as the mothers of human society because they supply milk. The Shastra especially recommends Krishi Goraksha. So Krishi and Goraksha, protection of the cows. The Vaishyas section of humanity should arrange for the food of the entire society through agricultural activities and should give full protection to the cows, which are the most useful animals because they supply milk to human society. So this is nature's arrangement. The fruits and flowers are food for insects and birds, and so on and so forth. Yuyam cha pitran vadishta deva devena chanaka praja sargaya hi katham vriksha nirdagdhum arhatha. O pure-hearted ones, your father Prachin Barhi and the Supreme Personality of Godhead have ordered you to generate population. Therefore, how can you burn to ashes these trees and herbs which are needed for the maintenance of your subjects and descendants? So anyway, the story goes further. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Sorry, Prabhuji. Unknowingly,
Hare
I just
Krishna.
disturbed you. Hare Krishna. Sorry, Prabhuji.
That's okay. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much,
Prabhu.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.